Hey guys, so I'm here. I'm going to tell you a little bit, and want to share with you a little bit on my experience with COVID. And during the COVID quarantine, before, during, and current kind of situations, and what all happened in my life. I know one thing. So one thing that happened was a bunch of changes, and change was a big thing. Obviously, with masks and with working from home and school from home and everything else, it's been a big change for everybody. Now, I know personally I've had changes as far as, first off, when I was going to school, in the middle of school, just saying we got to stop and stop any production, anything like that. We were at NTTV doing a lot of stuff online, and but still we were going in to the news, and processing the news and getting all that. Listening to NPR was one thing that I was, hearing all the reports from Wuhan, China, and hearing all about that and hearing about, we're finding this case, we're finding Italy and all these other countries starting to see these cases and see some serious situations with that, starting to look at going, we need to do something. I know during that time we also, hearing about it, but then going, okay, is it going to come here? One. Two, if so, when? And about mid-semester, we stopped broadcast. It was my broadcasting class, which was Brittany McElroy and Professor McElroy. And I'm probably saying that wrong. Anyways, so ultimately, going through figuring out what do we do, and we decided let's go mobile. And so gather up anything you can, find any kind of equipment, buy any equipment that you can. We started looking at getting mobile equipment, for phones. I now have 2 different stands for a phone that I use, and then I have a GoPro and some other camera equipment to do. Now, I also created this studio within my house. In my garage, I now have a studio. It's not a great studio, don't get me wrong, but it is a studio. I'll show you that. I have, if you look, I have my soundboard. I have this. I've got my, I have all this equipment down here, equipment up here, which I had before a little bit, but became more serious. So pretty much I think I can do a live broadcast from my house at this point. But other things came into play. One of those things was my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was actually at this time was in Mexico, and then the reports started coming in that the U.S. was going to shut down the border and shut down any travel from any other country to avoid any kind of, obviously with the news, you knew anybody coming in the COVID situation, it was just going to shut down. So we had to get my mother-in-law out of there quickly in one day from Mexico City. So ultimately, we're trying to figure out where's a flight, what can we do? We get money together, getting all situated. We had friends calling, people, airlines, things like that, trying to figure out where can we get a flight in, what's going on. We get her back. She's here for 3 months. Then she goes up to Vermont, where my sister-in-law lives, and she's up there. So needless to say, there was a lot going on. On top of that, of course, I have a 2-year-old. My wife's a teacher. Her situation changes to where she is now working from home. She's having to do class from our room, literally. Doing Zoom calls with kids for families that have kids with autism. And so, needless to say, where she works for the district, and there's just a lot going on. But ultimately, like I said, with necessity comes the mother of invention, and I create this room pretty much in my garage where I do my recording, broadcasting, everything else, and I have all sorts of equipment all over the place. And so, if you go out, I created with, ultimately, this is just a tarp. That's it. And as you can see, I blocked it off. I got a few screws and things like that, hooks to actually hang the tarp, and then that is actually a curtain hung up with some it's coax cable, of all things, just zip tied, done like a rope. So with necessity comes the mother of invention. And so you see this process, see these things happen. And like I said, family was all there. You know, we're all trying to get situated, with my wife going, how do I do this as a teacher? Trying to figure it all out. And at the same time, I come into the situation where I'm able to, my old job is going, hey, we need some people as well. So I was able to get my old job where it's a little bit more flexible as well. So that was good. Of course, my son, he's like, I get to stay at home with mommy and daddy. So that was fun. And there's a lot to consider. And I know a lot of people out there, when we had masks and everything, going out to the store was new. Everything else shifted. Everything else changed. It was a bunch of change for everybody. You had to wear a mask where you went. You had to go and make sure that, who did you come in contact with? Do you remember who you came in contact with? Just in case you get sick. And there was stress, a lot of stress involved with what was going on. Now, at the same time, I'm trying to this also changed my future plans. I'm looking at, where do I go to get an internship? Well, there wasn't that option. Well, there was, but it was very limited. So I decided, let's do a practicum. Let's go see what we can do there. And ultimately came to the decision, to start a podcast and actually continue my podcast, but in a different way. In a way to produce a more thought-provoking series called What It Takes. If you can go go search for the Denton Traveler and you will find my series on what it takes. This series is focusing on people in different areas of business and backgrounds of just what all it takes for somebody to do certain jobs and certain careers and things like that. I know with a lot of people changing careers, that was one thing I wanted to do, is give that insight. Of course, also as a person and as that personality, I'm big into supporting local business. And now I'm supporting local through many different ways. Highlighting them in there, highlighting them anywhere I can. Also on my TikTok, really pushing the idea of being local, stay local, buy, purchase, do things that you can do locally to help your community. I think that's a big thing that came out of this as well. I think we think about it, a lot of things came out of the quarantine. One was our community. Where did that look like? Two, I think what was important? Family, our faith, and so many other things came out of this whole quarantine situation. So this has been a little look into the whole thing, and hopefully y'all seen that, and hopefully y'all understand where it's coming from. So y'all have a good afternoon. See you later.